Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you are new to me and this is the first time you're seeing my face, hello, welcome to my home. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. That's what I like to do. It's what I have fun doing, and that's what's going to be happening here. So I hope that's why you're here. And if you're not new to me, thanks for always tuning in to the continued support. I really appreciate it. Today for you, I have my May wrap up. Yes, it's that time of the month again where I get to sit back and review everything that I read and be reminded of everything that I didn't get to. Because I didn't finish my TBR again. Is anybody surprised? I'm not. But you know what? Also don't care, because I had a great reading month. May was my birthday month, so I had a lot of stuff going on. I got to do some clothes shopping. I got to do some book shopping. I got to hang out with my friends. I got to go to some wineries. I had a really pretty fantastic month, minus a few little hiccups here and there. But my reading definitely for sure kicked ass this month. So without further ado, we have quite a few stuff to talk about. Grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat. Let's get talking some books. Find the straw, Jackie. All right, let's just get the crappy part out of the way. These are the books that I did not touch at all. I did not touch Demon Slayer by William King, which is the third installment in the first omnibus of Gotrek and Felix. This was my deterrent jar challenge, which if you do not familiar with my deterrent jar, that is this beautiful mug right here from Black Rifle Coffee Company. Great company, by the way. And my husband has put all the prompts in here, and I'm supposed to draw this if I do not complete my physical TBR. It's supposed to deter me from creating TBRs that I just can't manage, and it's just become a thing now that I draw it every single month. And I seem to draw the same prompt because I've drawn the same prompt for the last 3 months of read a book your husband owns. So I will be drawing out of that jar at the end of this video, and we'll probably draw in the same prompt because I always draw the same prompt. So we're going to say goodbye to this guy for right now, just say hello later. That's how it goes sometimes, right, guys? The book I'm most upset about not getting to this month, and that is because of why I'm reading these books. I am participating in the SJM read-along hosted by Jen over at the Book Refuge. I will link her channel down below. And what we're doing for the SJM read-along is rereading all of Sarah J. Maas's published works in publication order. So, if I don't read A Court of Thorns and Roses, I can't carry on with The Queen of Shadows. So I will be reading this book very, very soon. And that's why I'm slightly annoyed that I have not picked it up, but I will be picking it up very, very soon so I can read A Queen of Shadows and stay on track with everybody. The next book I did not touch was my TBR jar challenge. Again, this is the second month in a row for that. That's becoming a thing. We need to fix that. And this challenge was to read a book with an author that had the same initials that I did. And I had two options. I chose between Jeanne Killigreidis, Covenant of the Vampire, or Jace Kristoff's The Nevernight Chronicles. And I chose The Nevernight Chronicles. I purchased said book, just haven't read said book. But I was a huge fan of Empire the Vampire, and I would like to read Jay Kristoff's backlist just to see if I like his previous works as much as I liked Empire the Vampire. So I did purchase this entire series, part of my birthday book haul. I will link that video down below, and hopefully I will get to it soon. And last but not least, the last book I did not get to was my 12 stories in the Arabian Nights. I rolled a dice to read how many stories I was going to read, the 21 short stories in this book, and I rolled 12, and I didn't read a single one of them. So I did not read a single one of them in this beautifully leather-bound, gold foiled edged pages Barnes & Noble edition that my husband so lovingly got for me for Christmas. I love you, honey, and I will read it, I promise. My husband watches these videos. Just so you know, I will read this. I swear, at some point in time. Famous last words, though, right, guys? But because I did not read my classic book, I will be drawing out of my classic wine glass jar when I do my June TBR, because I don't get a say in the classic book that I'm reading in the month if I don't read the one that I assigned myself to begin with. So now that's out of the way, let's talk about all the cool shit that I did read, because I had a fantastic reading month. I read 12 books. May now takes the cake for the most books read in a month for me this year. Yay. I had 12 books, 4 physical and 8 audio. Yeah, I was kind of abusing the audiobooks this month just a little bit. My AirPods got to work out. But you know what? That's fine. I also read 2 novellas, but that is not included in the physical total book count because I'm still working my way through that novella set. But it is included in the page counts. And my physical page reading was 1,787 pages. I have something in my eyeball. Ouch. My listening time for all 8 of those audiobooks was a grand total of 69 hours and 25 minutes. Every time I add up the amount of time I spent on audios, I am always shocked at how much. This is over an entire week's worth of work. This is over a 40-hour work week, guys, that I spent reading books and listening to them. Yeah, but they were all great. So I'm not really complaining. And my average rating for this month, included with the novellas, the 8 audiobooks, and the 4 physical books, is a grand total of, drumroll please. That actually just sounds like me slapping my leg because I can't do drums. It's fine. It is a big whopping 4. And even 4. I couldn't do that again if I tried. So, without further ado, let's get into the books that I actually read. Say goodbye to the stats, and let's get talking some books. All right, so the first book I completed this month was actually a carryover from April, and that was my classic book, which was The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte in my beautiful penguin cloth bound edition that my husband did buy for me this one as well. This follows Helen Graham and Gilbert Hardgrave, I think is what his last name was. And it is their sort of love story and how it comes about and how Helen finds herself and leaves an abusive physical marriage and then really just defines women empowerment and everything. And I love this book so much that I actually am going to be doing a full book review on it. However, I only gave it a 3-star because there were some things I had issues with, but I'm going to flesh those out in the full book review. So do keep your eyes open for that one. It will be coming very, very soon. All right. So at the beginning of this month, there was this really awesome readathon hosted by the wonderful Jen of the Book Refuge. Again, her channel will be linked down below. And it was the Mafia romance readathon. And let me just tell you, okay, I fucking loved it. I loved every single second. I loved everything I read during this readathon. I think I found a new favorite subgenre. I'm obsessed. Obsessed. I will link my TBR video for it and my wrap-up video down below, so please go check those out. I flesh out all 4 of these books that I read during this readathon. Yeah, 4 books during a 4-day readathon. That's what I knocked out. Hell yeah. Picture dance for me. So I will link those videos down below so you can take a look, but let's get into what I read. First book was an audiobook, and that is The Bratva's Baby by Jane Henry, and here it is. Here's Casimir. He's beautiful and amazing, and I love him. This is the first installment in the Wicked Dom series, and it is Bratva Mafia, which is Russian Mafia. It is captor-captive, and it shows dubious consent, surprise baby, and heavy BDSM tones with emphasis on the theme of subservience and submission. So, we have Casimir, who is the Brigadier General of the Bratva army, and we have Sadie, who is a quiet, virginal librarian, and Casimir has been tasked to kidnap Sadie, marry her, take her inheritance, and get the fuck rid of her. And that's our storyline, guys. But he wants to slowly seduce Sadie, but something happens that has to speed that up, and he kidnaps her, takes her to Russia to their compound, and then proceeds to train her in a very BDSM kind of lifestyle. But because it is a romance, we all know what happens. Yes, there is a lot of sex in this book. There's a lot of feelings in this book. It's just all around fantastic. Because it is a romance book, I did give it another rating of a spice scale, and I am using Jen over the Book Refuge's spice scale. She developed it. I think it's phenomenal. There's nothing wrong with it, so I wanted to give her full credit. And on her spice scale, I gave this book a 4.25. It shows very graphic language with very graphic language used. Oral and penetration sex scenes are described in great detail, but they are done very, very tastefully. And there are varying degrees of severity of BDSM practices, such as collaring, spanking, small whippings, gaggings, and training toys. And they are used throughout this book. I believe this one actually has the most sex scenes out of the entire series, if I remember correctly. But it's fantastic. I loved it. Now, if you watch my wrap up for the Mafia Romance Readathon, I gave this book a 4-star. What happened throughout this month was I could not get this book out of my head. I kept going back and listening to excerpts of this book because I just wanted to relive it again. So this fucker is getting bumped up to a 5. Casimir's a 5, guys. He's a 5, and I love it. I'm down for it. I'm happy. Love him. Love him. Love him. I can't say that enough. So after reading that one, oh, actually I didn't even read it. It was an audiobook. And now let me tell you, it was narrated by Wen Ross, and oh, that's the way to go with this book. His narration was fantastic. His voice, he gave this deep, guttural Russian accent, and it was just, oh, the shivers. All the shivers, and all the feels, and all the greats, and every time he said, good girl, or little girl, oh, it's a fucking, yes, it was great. Oh, it was fantastic. Loved every single second of it. So after that book, I picked up for the Romance Readathon J.T. Geissinger's Ruthless Creatures, which is another first installment to a series called the Queen of Queens and Monsters series. It is also Bratva Mafia, Outsider Mafia, violence with minor BDSM themes, and very, very graphic language. This also follows Casimir, aka Cage, and Natalie. Cage is sent to kill Natalie 5 years after one of their members goes missing, and he is sent to kill her, but instead he falls for her because she's a stunning, beautiful woman, but she's a kickfire, and their chemistry is just fucking phenomenal. This probably had one of my favorite lines of all the books I read this month, and I just, it was perfect. It was perfect. It might go in the best line category for my end of the year best book result video that I'm planning. So you will hear it very, very soon. Yeah, this was fantastic. There's a lot of twists in this. There's kind of like this thriller-esque thing going on, like a treasure kind of hunt. And it was just, it was all over the place. And it had one of the best oral sex scenes of all the books I read this month. Oh, so beautiful. It was so well done. It was fantastic. Oh my God, it was beautiful. This got a 4 on the spice scale for graphic scenes and graphic language, explicitly detailed oral and penetration scenes. Use of toys is described in explicit detail. I mean, Natalie's been single for 5 years, so yeah, she's got a drawer full of toys, and we're going to talk about them, and we're going to use them, and we're going to have a great fucking time with them. Oh my God, it was amazing. And then, of course, there was some minor BDSM scenes in here, but it was more vanilla style, where they just used whatever was available to them. No special tools or apparatus, such as the Bratva's baby, where he had like a whole chamber of stuff. Anyway, so thoroughly enjoyed this guy. I gave it a 4-star, just because the ending just wrapped up a little too all nice and neat for me. But it's still very much, loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Now, after that book, I did pick up another physical book for this readathon. We're still in the Read-A-Thon realm, guys, and that is The Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. This is another first installment to a new series, the Brutal Birthright series, and this fucker was 5 stars from page 1 to the end. There was no question about it. This thing was intense, it was sexy, it was angry, it was funny. I laughed my ass off in this book, and I was turned on all at the same time, which, if you know me, I love to laugh and be turned on. That's the greatest combination in the world. It's fantastic. This is Irish and Italian mafia, enemies to lover, arranged marriage, dubious consent, acts of violence. We have Callum, and I believe it's pronounced Aida. I've also heard it pronounced Ada. Callum is Irish, Aida is Italian. Aida and her brother decide to crash Callum's party and set some fire to some shit, totally by accident. Callum decides to get retribution by totally breaking her brother's leg on purpose, and the fathers are like, hey, we're not starting a turf war, you fuckers are getting married. Hook them up. And then all chaos ensues, and they are just so fucking petty to each other, and it's amazing. The sex scenes are on point, they are fantastic, but the banter between Callum and Aida is what makes this book so awesome. It is so fucking good, guys. So good. So good. Highly, highly, highly recommend this one. Only a 3.75 on the chili pepper scale because there weren't as many sex scenes as there were in the other books, but there are violent gestures tagged with the dubious consent scenes. There was one that's kind of like, did you really want to have sex with him? Really? Yeah, she probably did, but really? There was a pretty decent dubious consent one, and then there was some minor BDSM with was whatever around again. But this one offered a lot of multiple locations. We have a limo scene, which is, oh dear God, it's phenomenal. Oh, I love that scene. Loved it. And again, very, very graphic language, but this was 5 stars out of the gate. Oh, I bought the next 2 installments of this series and actually bought the rest of the JT Geissinger series as well. So both of them I wanted to carry on immediately with, had to, because they were so good. Now, after I put that one down, I picked up The Bratva's Bride by Jane Henry. This is the second installment to the Wicked Dom series, and this is Damien. Okay, let's break this one down. So this again is Bratva Mafia, Captor Captive, Outsider Mafia, very heavy on the BDSM tones with an emphasis on sadism, dubious consent, acts of violence, and it follows Damien and Kalina, aka Larissa, because there are twins in this book, and there is a switcheroo plus another switcheroo. Oh my God, it was fantastic. This book was 5 stars. Its ending tied up very nicely. It didn't seem rushed. It seemed thought out and followed through. It ties in with the previous installment, and it will also tie in with the third installment very, very well. This was on point. We have Damien, who is now in charge of the Bratva Mafia because Casimir has left from previous of book 1, and Kalina has stolen money from the Bratva Mafia, and her sister Larissa has found out and decides to switch her places because Kalina's not completely right in the head, and so she doesn't think she'll be able to tolerate the torture or what they're going to put her through, so they switch spots, and Damien takes Larissa, aka Kalina, and proceeds to make her pay off her debt being a servant to him and service him in any way he sees fit. And that's where we really set this book off, and it was beautiful. Jane Henry does touch on the idea of Stockholm Syndrome. She doesn't shy away from it. The fact that she even has Larissa saying, maybe I'm the crazy one because I'm actually wanting him to do this stuff to me, and he's a bad man. He's a bad man, but I am falling for him, and I want these little small romantic gestures he's doing to actually mean something. So the idea of Stockholm Syndrome is brought right to the forefront with it, which I really did enjoy that. This one, I gave a 5 on the chili pepper scale because the dubious consent scenes were fantastic. The graphic description of the oral sex, the first sex scene is an oral sex scene, and it is damn, it was good. Like I said earlier, very vivid BDSM scenes with emphasis on the sadism. Damien flat out admits he's a sadistic fucker, and that's what he's into, and I am here all day for it because he's awesome. I love him so much. There was also some sexualized scenes of degradation and humiliation, as well as very specific use of sexualized toys, such as a remote vibrator during a party, which is excellent. There is caging involved in this, also they bring out a Sibian, and if you bring out a Sibian, it's a fucking party. So, yeah, very, very heavy in the BDSM toys, lifestyle, sadism elements. Yes, very heavy on it. This one is definitely not for the faint of heart, but if you were into that lifestyle, I think you would really, really appreciate this one a lot. And again, very graphic. Again, also a audiobook narrated by Wen Ross, except this one was a dual narration with Wen Ross and Kay Kennicott, and that combo is fucking gold. Gold! It was fantastic. Loved every single second of it. 5 stars. As soon as I was done with this one, I immediately picked up the third one, which is The Bratva Captive by Jane Henry as well. And here it is. This is Maxim, and he also gets 5 stars. I loved it. It was, again, an audiobook, dual narration by Wen Ross and Kay Kennicott. Knocked out of the fucking park with this one. Captor Captive. Not so much heavy on the BDSM in this one. It starts off going to be, and then it turns into more of a very romantic love story, because both Maxim and Olena, who this book follows, are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Maxim is actually captured at the end of book 2. Olena is the daughter of a rival Mafia Bratva boss and has been kidnapped because of who her father is, which is why Maxim kidnaps her, because he wants revenge on her dad. So he kidnaps her. So they both have these post-traumatic stress disorders, and through their stressors and traumatic experiences, they're developing this really odd but unique, beautiful romance. And there's this very beautiful, intimate vanilla scene where Olena gives her virginity to Maxim, and it's just well done. It's so well done. It is a very well done scene, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. After having all this very heavy BDSM and graphic and violence, it was nice to have just kind of this very intimate, soft, sweet vanilla. It was everything. But this one, we got the vanilla and we got the leather and the lace in it, because we did get some leather in it when we got it. It was fantastic too. So not going to deny it, but 5 stars. 5 stars on this one. But it only got a 4. It got a 4 on the Chili Pepper scale. The BDSM scenes were more of paddling and spankings that was involved. Like, Olena gets off on spanking, like she actually orgasmed from it. So that was pretty cool. I've never seen that used before. So now, after I listened to this book, I picked up another free audiobook of Dirty Wolf by Aidy Ward. And this is what you have here. Now, I'm going to preface this. I gave this book a 3 stars. 3 stars because this author's whole shtick is she writes plus-size heroines. She writes that golden Greek god, muscle-bound, tatted bad boy, loving the thick, the curvy, the cellulite, the stretch marks, the big boobs, the big ass. That's what they like. And I am all for that every day of the week, because I'm a plus-size girl, and I love an author that is not afraid to shy away from that. So I really want to love this author, but I really did not like this book. But I gave it a 3 star because of her plot. The plot for this book was fantastic. You have a lichen shapeshifter who is forced in the alpha position because his brother does something stupid and assassinates the Tsar, and then his dad dies, and he's in love with a human who you cannot mate with because it's werewolf law. You cannot mate a human. You can fuck around, you can fool around, you can have some good times with, but don't you dare fucking mate her. But he's in love with her, and she's a thick, curvy librarian nerd. Oh, I was all down for this. There was so much going on in this book. There's so much working for this book, but then there was things that just overshadowed all of it. And one of it was its narration. It was narrated by Kurt Bonham and Stephanie Rose, 2 people I've never had any experience with in Audible books, but it left a lot to be desired. My quote for the narration for this is, and I quote, "It sounded like Ferris Bueller on helium fucking a Kardashian that grew up in the valley who was employed as a cheerleader." It was bad. It was very, very bad. And it didn't help that this book is called Dirty Wolf. So I kind of went in thinking there was going to be a lot of dirty talk. There was an exorbitant amount of dirty talk to the point where it was not necessary. I am all for, dropping the C word, dropping like, oh, you're a dirty little girl. Like, I'm all for even more graphic than that. Like, you can dirty talk all day long. But if you start saying words to just say words, it gets annoying. And it just sounds like you're a thesaurus for female genitalia. That's what it sounded like. And it bothered me because it didn't need to be there. It didn't need to be that much. And that just kind of turned me off from it. And then, of course, you had the voice, which was just awful. It was awful. And then the final scene was like the cheesiest sex scene you could possibly think of. She spills something on her and says, "Oh, I think you should clean it up." The fuck? What? Not to mention the author introduced like 3 random characters that were literally in there for like 2 pages. I got a name and then said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't introduced myself, but it's all right. You're not going to remember me anyway." And then poof, these people are on a couch and have no recollection of this bar scene that just happened. I thought I read the book out of order, but I didn't. I went on Aidy Award's website, and this is the recommended reading order. this book is read first. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But her scenes, her fight scene, that thing was on point. That was killer. Oh, it was great. The storyline, the political machinations, the levels that were going on, the open-ended questions that she left for further installments, everything worked. It's just this narration sucked. So I do plan on continuing with this series, but not Audible. I will be buying these books and reading them because I'm hopefully physically reading them will give me a better experience. I can create the voices in my head. I am creating 100% the picture, not having some of these annoying Ferris Bueller heliums indoctrinated voice in my ears. It was bad. But it was still a 3-star for me. While I was listening those last 2 audiobooks, I was reading The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Bador. This was my Red Witch and Bitchin' Book Club book of the month. We met on May 14th. Didn't get to talk about it because Shayla hadn't read the book. Shocker. But this is the first installment of Looking Glass Wars trilogy, and this is an Alice in Wonderland retelling where Alice in Wonderland is a real story. Alice Hart's a real girl. She had to flee from Wonderland when her crazy Aunt Red took over and killed her family, and she had to jump through the pool of tears with Hatter Madigan, and she landed in London, where she lived on the streets until she was found and put in an orphanage and adopted by the Liddells, where then she encountered a religious man who wrote down the story of Alice in Wonderland and wrote it wrong. So the story that we all know and love is wrong. And this is the real story of how she got back into Wonderland and took back her kingdom. Again, only a first installment, but it's a great start. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 3-star. And I do plan on picking up the rest of the series and continuing with it. I really loved the magic system in this book. There was black imagination and white imagination, and literally anything she imagined immediately created. So she had to train her mind to create thousands of little armies to defeat Queen Red, or her Aunt Red. And I just really like that idea that your imagination is your tool. And it's very whimsical and fantastical. I loved it. I had a very, very good time with it. Thoroughly enjoyed this a lot. While, I'm not quite exactly how these laid over, I started listening to another audiobook, this one by Pam Godwin, and this was Deliver, and it looks like this. I gave this a 4-star, and this book scared the crap out of me. So, let me break this down. This is the first installment of the Delivered series, but you can read this book completely as a standalone. You do not have to read it as the first installment to the rest of the series. This was an audiobook narrated by Teddy Hamilton and Abby Craden. Great fucking combo. Teddy Hamilton did a fan-fucking-tastic job. Loved him. Loved his voice. Loved him. This is a captor-captive romance with a female dom. It involves elements of human trafficking and straight-up mental fuckery. So, break it down. It follows Liv and Joshua. Liv tricks Joshua into helping her out fix her car, and he takes her to her home, and this is where she pretty much tricks him into going up into the attic and kidnaps him and is going to train him as a sex slave to sell into the sex trade. She has a buyer who has specifically requested a virgin male who is not gay but hates females. So she has 10 weeks to train him to hate the female body and to test anything to do with pleasuring a female, but yet be so submissive that he will let a male do whatever he wants to him, even though he is not sexually attracted to him. So that's the layout. And he's like 6'5", she's like 5'3". So she has the help of Van, who has his own demons in of itself. And this book, in the beginning, it is straight up breaking this kid. It scared the crap out of me because everything they were doing, I think, would actually work. It scared me for a long time. And then this fucking twist happens and it becomes a whole nother book. Like, there's 2 parts. You have the sex trafficking book, and then you have, like, this fucking thriller mystery book over here, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? It was great. I loved it. I was scared of it, but I loved it. The sex scenes, as depraved and as scary as they were, I gave them a 4 on the spice scale. Very graphic. But they mentally fucked me up for a while. Like, I was a little creeped out by it. But the problem I had with this book the most was that there are really no innocents in this book at all. Everybody does some bad shit or have had bad shit done to them. Therefore, they're using that as an excuse to do more bad shit. But the ultimate bad of the bad, he wasn't supposed to be. He's supposed to be the good guy. And that's what kind of pissed me off, because my husband is in the law enforcement. He's in law enforcement, and if I would have known that, I probably wouldn't have read it, because A, would have revealed one of the biggest twists. But I wanted the good guy to be a good guy in this book, and he wasn't. So, but this was excellent, and I plan on continuing with the rest of the series. Pam Godwin can write the fuck out of a book. Oh my god, it was great. Scared the crap out of me, though. Scared the living crap out of me. 4 stars on that one. Great job. Another audiobook I picked up was, and this was a freebie, was Alien King Crashes the Wedding by Becca Brayden. I gave this a 3-star. This is the first installment in Lumerian Nights. It is also narrated by Teddy Hamilton. That's actually how I found it. And it is an alien-human romance with graphic content and dubious consent. And this follows Sasha and Dagon, and it's awesome. Dagon is the king of the Kaldorians, and Sasha is an art collector. His best friend is getting married, and he can't make the wedding, but he crashes it, and Sasha's at the wedding as the maid of honor, and they are immediate lustful for each other. And their first hookup scene is actually like a miscommunication. There's a lot of miscommunication in this because they're like different cultures. He wants to claim her, and in their culture that is literally mating together, and they are together forever. And in her mind, she was like, I'm just looking for a fun like hookup weekend and lose my virginity. So let's do this. Let's have some fun. And Dagon has this really unique form of domination, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Their first hookup scene, he literally tells her what he's going to do verbatim, and then looks at her and says, now tell me what I'm going to do. And she tells him, but not really, because she's a little nervous about saying all those kind of words. And he's like, no, tell me what I'm going to do. And then makes her repeat it back and says, now agree. So the consent was right up there in the front, which I thought was kind of great, but I was ecstatic. I was in my car driving, listening to the scene by myself, and I was cheering, and I could not focus because the way Teddy Hamilton voiced Dagon in that scene was just like, I am Sasha, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Yes, I was right in it right there. It was great. I loved it. Really, really loved it a lot. And Becca does a lot of double entendre for lines in this book. So they're saying one thing, but they're totally meaning another thing. And she does it quite a lot. And I loved it. And this storyline's fantastic. Like, there's a lot of political machinations in it. There's a lot of movement, a lot of pieces. Like, she could build this up to be an ultimate fantasy series with an awesome kick-ass sex scene and romance involved, but just get those fight sequence down, and this would be like a fan-fucking-tastic fantasy sci-fi series for sure. Love this. Only gave it 3 stars, but I still really, really enjoyed it. 3 stars is pretty good for me. Once I finished that, I did finish an Heir of Fire, and this was a fucking trip. This was fantastic. I don't really know what I can say about this book without giving anything away from the first books or ruining this, but there are 4 storylines going. We're building this puzzle, and we're seeing all these storylines. We're meeting new characters. We got to meet Rowan, who I love him. I love him. I love him. Love him to death. We got to meet Manon and Abraxos, and I want a whole book series just on that bitch. I know she's a villain. She's gonna piss me off probably later on, but right now, fucking love her. We got to meet Aidy, the cousin. We got to meet some spies. We got to meet Maeve. Maeve and Selena are gonna do some fucking rounds. Chaos a little lost. He finds his way a little bit, but he's a little lost. And that fucking ending with Dorian, holy shit. This is why I need to read A Court of Thorn and Roses, because I need to find out what happens with that, so I can read Queen of Shadows, because holy shit, I need to know. Oh my god. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on, but this was a 4-star for me. Freaking loved it. I knew I was going to, and I was super excited to pick it up. I flew through it. Once I picked it up, I couldn't put it down. It was fantastic. And once I finished that, I picked up Alien King Crashes the Wedding by Becca Brayden, the sequel to the Lemurian Knights. And this follows, or not Crashes the Wedding. My bad. Alien Knight Steals the Bride by Becca Brayden. Sorry, didn't go back far enough. This is the second installment of Lemurian Knights, narrated again by Teddy Hamilton, alien human romance, and this follows Torn and Juliet. Torn, we don't actually meet in the first book. We are told about him. We met his mirror twin, and we know that he has been kidnapped, and we are introduced to him being kidnapped, trying to escape, and in this escape, he's also trying to free Juliet, who was kidnapped at the end of the first book during a bombing, which we didn't even know about, and they have to try to survive, and of course, you know, lusty romance feelings all develop, and they're having a good fucking time, and sex scenes were great. This story was great. I loved it. Torn is a badass. Love him to death, and we get to see Dagan and Sasha again in this installment. They were great. I have zero problem with these books. I gave this book, apparently I didn't put it in my notes, I gave this one a 3-star as well. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Plan on continuing with the rest of the series. I already downloaded the last 2 audiobooks, so I'll be listening to those and probably purchasing these because I really did enjoy them and would like to have copies of them on my shelf. So, and last but not least, I read The Assassin and the Healer by Sarah J. Maas and The Assassin's Blade along with The Assassin and the Desert by Sarah J. Maas. The Healer I gave 3 stars and The Desert I gave 5 stars. They were some really short, cute novellas that I really enjoyed. The Healer, I got to see Selena be more of a forgiving side, her understanding side, the humanist side of her. And in The Desert, I got to see her be her total badass and be tortured a little bit with the silent assassins. And the cool thing about The Desert was I was actually learning things from that book that I had seen in Heir of Fire. So I was learning a little bit more backstory about them. So these are becoming very, very handy for me, and I'm really, really enjoying them a lot. That is everything that I read this month. I read a shit ton, listened to a crap ton. I am in the process of finishing Ruth Rendell's The Girl Next Door. I will be finishing it tonight. This was my Buzzword Challenge book of the month. I had to read a book that had direction in it, and it's next. I have not finished it, but I am enjoying it. It's a very weird thriller, but I'll catch you up in my wrap up. And I did not finish A Little Life. I'm not feeling this right now. Hopefully I will pick it back up the rest sometime this year, but right now it's just not my cup of tea, and I'm tired of sitting there looking at it, so I'm going to put it down for a while. Hopefully I'll pick it up at the end of this year. Who knows? But that is my wrap up. That is a lot. This is a long video, so I'm going to draw my challenges, and we're going to get out of here so I can go make my TBR. What do you guys say? So, Deterrent Challenge, here we go. Get the stupid coin out of here. This one's unfolded. All right. You see, there are multiple in there. What do we get? All right, my Deterrent Challenge is... Holy shit, it's a new one! What? Oh, okay. Start a series your husband helped finish for you. So what he meant by this is I have to, what he means is this series right here, but I've already started it. So we're going to change that to continue a series your husband helped finish for you. So there we go. Oh my God, guys, our thing is done. I don't have to read a book here. Oh, that's amazing. Holy crap. Ah, that's insane. All right. So that's the initials one. And then let's pick out mine. Oh my God. Oh, okay. We'll just pick the one that popped out at me. Read the next book in a previously started series. I can do this. I can make these work for the same book. Holy shit, guys, that's awesome. All right, that's what I got for you guys today. I'll see you guys all soon with my June TBR. Have fun, stay safe, and if you like any of these books, please go check them out. All these Audible books are fucking fantastic. I loved majority of all of them. Even the ones I didn't like the most, I still plan on continuing with the series because I want to give that author another chance. So, see you guys later.